I think when you're at a point where something bad happens, you just question where is God.
Yeah.
When I was there, like the feeling like, can I just disappear?
Hmm.
I remember just being so broken. Like I felt like God had failed me. I felt like he had kind of played me a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like, so why did you? I felt like I had heard from you. And it wasn't one of those like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep going our separate ways. It was painful and it was hurtful.
You have to be intentional. You have to be willing to make the call, put out the text. Tell somebody I am hurting right now. I do feel alone because alone is a bad place to be right now because the enemy does not play fair. He does not play fair. And so just want to encourage people as you are listening out there, please, please, please make an effort to connect with someone, get in a connect group, get on our prayer calls. We're praying 7 times a week. That's a start. That's somewhere to be. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our discussion questions with Every Nation NYC, a show which we personally answer the questions our pastors brought up last week. I'm your host, Shino. I'm one of the pastors here on staff. This week, we're going to be talking about the sermon series that Pastor Ron preached, talking about reaching the broken by Pastor Ron. And today, I have two beautiful, beautiful women in front of me, women of God. I have Razzel and I also have Bijou. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what Ron said and what he meant in his sermon this week. And Ron was basically talking about reaching the broken. He's talking about reaching the broken. And, you know, there's a lot of times where, we've gone through difficult things in our lives. And through Pastor Ron's message, he stood on the scripture verse in Psalms 34:19, talking about many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the key word is but the Lord delivers us from them all. So we can be good people. A lot of people think, man, when I serve the Lord, when I come to be a Christian, nothing bad's going to happen to me. But that's the opposite. It's not if a storm's coming, it's when a storm's coming. And so we always got to be ready to know that God is a great deliverer.
Mm.
And so we're going to have a couple questions. We're going to kick it around. And I know Razell here, she's our office manager at 414, a very mighty and powerful woman of God. And I have Bijou here as well. She's in the fashion industry, fashion world, and holding it down out there in NYC. And so the first question I'll ask you is this, and I'll ask you, Razell. Can you describe the impact of a difficult trial and how the Lord delivered you or is delivering you right now?
With that question, it's like I want to go back to I was working in a company and I thought like I had people that I trusted. So, when you trust somebody, you just share information that you thought would be okay, this is just for us. But then all of a sudden, all those information were used against me. I think because that person wanted maybe my position because I was basically handling a department. And so what happened was she came up with a way where, like an open forum, and with all the information that she got from me, like she was able to instigate like something, a
Mm-hmm.
rumor, or just something that would draw people's doubt or questioning why I was in that position. So I wasn't prepared for that. I thought I had a friend, a close friend that I was working with, and then when we were in that, so there was an open forum, but basically like the main point of that would be to bring me down
Mm-hmm.
really, really in a very bad way. When I went there, I was just crying out to the Lord, Lord, I've been serving you and this thing's gonna happen. Like, I think when you're at a point where something bad happens, you just question where is God.
Yeah.
When I was there, like, the feeling like, can I just disappear?
Mm-hmm.
But they were all eyes were on me and they were asking questions. And those questions were basically targeting like something that I did,
Yeah.
that I shared to that specific person. When I was there, I just said, those were, decisions that I made. I was owning whether it was something really bad decision that I did. But you know what God did? It was my, let's just say my boss who cut in and said, you know what, whatever decision, it was not her decision. I, like he owned it and said, I did it. You should be telling me to get down from my position, not letting Razzel, take all the blame. I felt God was there,
Wow.
and He was even using like an unbeliever, like my boss, and just said, "It's our." So I just felt. I mean, I just saw God's hand when, like, Lord, just get me out of this. But He let me out of it with His favor
Yeah.
through my boss just stepping in and saying, "This is it."
It's awesome. That's awesome. It's amazing realizing, during those times when we're in the public spotlight and the pressure's on, a lot of people are watching us during our trials. And just like you, I'm pretty sure you had co-workers that were like, whoa, let's see how it's going to be now. Let's see where her God is now.
True.
But the beauty of it is, we think about if God be for us, who or what can be against us. And it was amazing seeing that God was with you right there and He was for you in that situation.
Yeah. I was able to minister even that very moment. God used that as like a turning point for some people. They saw how I was willing to take all the blame because I was in a position, like you're responsible, you're making decisions. I was ready because that's what we are. Like we have to take responsibilities,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's going to mean my position, I didn't care. But I wanted to do what was right. If really it was my fault, then I was willing to say yes. Like I think at the back of our mind, we want to just say, oh no, I did not do that,
Yeah.
deny or even just lie.
Yeah.
But I knew at that point that I want to do what God was like. God did a work in my life.
Yeah.
And if what would happen to my testimony if just because of this,
Yeah.
then I just said, oh yeah, I did not do that,
Yeah.
blah, blah, and just say, but I just trusted God and I knew the right thing to do was, own it. But at the same time, recognizing that, I didn't know how God would, provide a way out, but it's not about having a way out.
Yeah.
It's about allowing God to work through that. And yeah, that particular time, a lot of, like people, the teachers, okay, that I was handling at the time, they basically like, saw something different.
Yeah.
So the testimony, yes, Pastor Shino,
Yes. It's
it's a
amazing.
story of just, yeah.
So glad you were able to get through that trial. Bijou, how about you? You coming into the corporate world here in the grind in New York City. I know it's cutthroat, especially in your industry. People don't play fair.
Yeah.
So any trials that you've gone through, past or present, and how did God deliver you from
I mean, I feel like every day is a trial
them?
working in retail. I actually think I want to share a more personal
Sure,
story here
sure.
because, being a single girl in my 30s, I think everyone can relate to the trial of heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just going through a season of immense heartbreak, right? Like you pray for something, you think God has answered your prayer, you have wedding plans at the back of your mind, and then it falls apart.
Yeah.
And I remember this was almost 3 years ago now. So about, yeah, almost 2.5, 3 years ago. And I remember just being so broken. Like I felt like God had failed me. I felt like He had kind of played me
Yeah.
a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, so why did you? I felt like I had heard from you. And it wasn't one of those like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep going our separate ways. It was painful and it was hurtful. And you asked the question like, how did God deliver and how does He continue to deliver?
Yeah.
I would say that when you go through a pretty difficult heartbreak, it's a constant process of healing,
Right.
right? Because even when you do meet the next person, you're constantly looking for signs of, the signs from the old relationship into the new one. So
Yeah.
it's a constant deliverance. But I will share a testimony. I remember being so broken in that moment, Pastor Shino, that I wasn't afraid of anything. Like nothing else could make me sadder.
Wow.
And so I remember just in that moment deciding that I wanted to go back to business school, kind of something to distract me. I had plans to move to another country with this person. So like I had this whole year planned out and then everything fell apart in like February of that year. And I remember being in such a broken place that I went ahead and applied to the #1 school in America for an executive MBA, not expecting to get in. And I think I just said to myself, well, you know what? I'm in so much pain already. Nothing else can hurt me even
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
And it was from that place of pain that I applied to the program and got in.
Yeah.
And that has pretty much catapulted and changed the entire course of my career for the past 2.5 years. So it was a story of deliverance
Yeah.
out of pain. I don't think that if I was ever in that pain, I would have if I wasn't in that pain, I don't think I would have had the courage to apply to a program like the one that I did.
Yeah.
And then everything got brought about as a result of it. I think I continue to be blown away by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love the personal, and just thank you for being open and honest about the emotions and the feelings and
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the rawness of a relationship. Sometimes when you look back, over our lives and you see those trials and how they can to make you stronger. You said that this makes you a little more wiser, more apt to be careful, not to go down that path again. But a lot of times also our own personal trials can be ministry for others, to be able to talk to people and share our heartbreaks and our highs and lows. And that becomes a point of ministry for people because we're talking about brokenness. And that was one thing Pastor Ron was saying, when he said when he went through his separation, his divorce, he came up here and how the enemy would mock him, make fun of him, make him feel less than, like, what do you got to say? But the beauty of it is when he was raw, when he was open, man, it gave everybody else hope. It gave everybody else the ability to, man, if God can do it for him, he can do it for me. And so I'm thank you for sharing those moments of vulnerability, whether it's in the public eye or it's just something personal that you go through. People need to hear that right now. Our next question is this: is how does a faith-filled community help you through your areas of brokenness? A faith-filled community. So, Bijou, I asked you that.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one because I think a lot of times when you're going through pain, you want to kind of go through it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are times when God does kind of take you apart so that you realize that your healing only comes from Him.
Yeah.
So it's almost like everyone that you're relying on kind of fails you.
Yeah.
As some people go through those long seasons of brokenness,
Yeah.
right? And I think that was the case for me where there really wasn't anyone to lean on, so to speak. I had my church community at the time. I will say now on the flip side, because we can talk about COVID and sort of where we are now. I joined Every Nation, I think, in January,
Yeah. Yeah.
right before the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate to make two really good friends. I'll give them shout outs. One was Favor,
Mm-hmm.
and one is Ida.
Yeah.
And we just bonded a lot during COVID. And I will say that the wisdom that I've been able to gather from, Favor's wisdom is different from Ida's wisdom, but I would say for Ida, for example, just very practical, she's a doctor and she's very no nonsense, has really helped me kind of move away from those places of pain and open my heart up again.
Yeah.
She's very much like, well, from a practical standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. So that community has really helped me sort of step out even further. I would say prior to this year, I was still operating from a place of fear.
Yeah.
I will be lying if I didn't say that there are still moments of fear there, but having that community to say, hey, listen, that was the past, move forward, has really helped me kind of step out. And so that's kind of been my experience where initially there was no one, there were people there, but it was a God healing.
Yeah.
And then after I relied on Him solely, He started to bring people in through my, friendships and through my relationships that helped me kind of move past the finish line of healing.
So good. So good. You talking about just being able to talk to other women during your low points. James chapter 5, 16 through 18 says that, when we confess our faults to one another, there's healing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, especially being in a faith-filled community, it can't just be any community. It's got to be a community that's full of faith, because you don't want to get around people that are negative or critical, people that are just kind of gossip, take your business and put it out there on the street. But you need a community that is supportive, that's uplifting, that can meet you where you need to be met, and hope and trust that God will bring that healing as you're opening up. We have a saying here in the church, you can, take your mask off, but not your clothes. And when we say that, it's just like, sometimes people are just too raw, too real. They just throw it all out there, and it's like, no, I didn't need to hear that. But you do want people to be genuine and authentic. And I've also learned over the years, is that trust is built over time. So developing the trust and worthy relationships in a faith-filled community can bring the breakthroughs that we need. So about you, Razzel, just being in a faith-filled community, how's that helped you?
Yeah, like I want to cry now. But like even before COVID, we found out that my mom was gonna go through dialysis. Like the feeling that at the time, like like you wanna be like we lost our dad like a few years back. So basically, my mom, it's just me and my mom here, and then I'm away from my mom. And then when it happened, like I was far from her, like like can I help her? I was at a point where I was really just crying out to the Lord. And then when COVID hit, I also lost a friend for with COVID. But I saw how my community here now, so I'm fairly new in Every Nation, New York. I can be, like putting up walls, but I knew that I needed this faith-filled community. And I saw how, of course, shout out to Pastor Cass, Aki, and my Jersey group, and even now my group, um, and even the pastors. When I lost a friend recently, you guys, Pastor Shino, you reached out. That's where it finally just hit me. This is where God has brought me, and He is also like covering me and surrounding me with people who does not just cry with me, but they speak life into my situation, just speaking the word of God that really helped me. Like I may be broken and crying out to the Lord, but He also provides the very people that can really help me that time. And just cry with me was thank you, Pastor Sheena, that time. Like now I remember. And even with my mom going through and, with everything, and then with losing a friend, that page, you guys, this is my community. And looking back, even at this time, that has always brought tears in me. And I thank God for having that because it only not only that it strengthened my faith, but it that's a reality that I need people around me who can really just support me. So it like you can say that yeah, I can have my time with the Lord. I spend time with the Lord, but at the same time, He also provides the very people that can help you and be there for you and be with you during your time of brokenness.
Yeah, I was actually going to just say something to that, which is like, I think a lot of times people don't realize you can pray for community. You can pray for godly friends. Like, sometimes we just take it for granted. I would be listening into something like this and thinking, or someone could be listening and thinking, well, I don't have that. I'm not a
Yeah.
part of a church that has that kind of close knit nature. I mean, this church, you guys call people for everything. Right? It really is a close knit community here. But I would encourage anyone who's seeking that to actually strategically ask God for it, because I can tell you right now that those two women that I mentioned, I come from a large group of friends. Like I have a large group of friends naturally, but those two, especially Ida, was a specific answer to prayer that I had at the start of this year, right? So having experienced it in real time, I think, nothing is too small to ask God. So if it's community, ask Him for it because He might give it to you, not right now, but at the time when you need it the most. So,
And another thing, I guess, like for me, I had to make a way. I had to be intentional about connecting and just making sure that I'm surrounded. So I make my first move. I think you're praying for friends, right? You're praying for community, then be one. So I think it also takes like an intention,
It's
a
good.
heart to really connect.
Yeah.
And like, I need you.
Yeah.
I need you.
Yeah.
Like, and then you allow people to just, you know, you allow yourself to be open as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
That's so good. And right now, community is big, is huge. We people need it. Because right now we can't connect the way that we normally do connect. On a physical, just sitting there talking, it's hard. And you got all these restrictions. The mask, the social distancing, the hand sanitizing. There's a lot of fear out there. But it shouldn't stop us for like what you just said, both of you. Like you have to be intentional. We have to be willing to make the call, put out the text. Tell somebody I am hurting right now. I do feel alone, because alone is a bad place to be right now, because the enemy does not play fair. He does not play fair. And so just want to encourage people, as you are listening out there, please, please, please make an effort to connect with someone, get in a connect group, get on our prayer calls. We're praying 7 times a week. That's a start. That's somewhere to be. Let's go to our third question. It's here. It says, according to Jesus, how do we see and serve those who are broken? And what are some examples of this in Pastor Ron's message? So, how can we see and serve people that are broken? So, you walk around the city, maybe you hear things, see things, but how can we go about helping people in this time?
yeah, sure. I mean, I think in this particular moment, I would say, kind of like to your point, being available to people in your immediate circle. I think sometimes people think that they're not serving or having an impact if they're not in ministry or if they're not doing, back in the day, we could go to soup kitchens, we could actually do things physically. But I think now more than ever, being available to people is a big part of lending that kind of support. You just never know who could use that phone call or who could use that text message. And I think sometimes we get so inward looking, my problems, no one's calling me, no one's reaching out to me. But like to your point, Lizelle, who am I reaching out to? I think another way is financially, right? A lot of people are hurting right now financially. They, they stop getting unemployment or whatever the case might be. If you're in a position to be working and receiving income, asking God, okay, I typically give 10%. Do you want me to give more than 10% this time? Do I give it directly to the church, or do you put someone on my heart that I can give it to? Because I found, can I just tell a quick story real quick?
Sure.
I remember, this is like the Ida show I keep talking about, but I remember like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was riding on my bike and I found money on the floor. And it wasn't like $10, it was like $200. And I was excited. I had plans for it. And so I call Ida. I'm like, you won't believe what I just found. Like, I'm going to go buy, I think I said like AirPods or something, something. And she's like, my grandma always said, when you find money on the floor or when you find money, it's not yours, you have to give it away. And I was like, that's $200. That's not like $20.
Right.
And immediately I just thought, okay, well, we'll see. So I called up my nanny in Nigeria, who happened to be, by the way, there's a lot of stuff going on in Nigeria right now. And so keep them in prayer. And it was her birthday. And I said, I found this. And Ida was very specific. She said, when you give it away, don't make it sound like it came from your account. Tell them how you found the money and give it away. And so I told her the story and she started crying. She's like, I was just praying and asking God for money for my ministry, right? And it happened to be the exact amount that she needed. Fast forward, I think I had a birthday like last week. I would say almost every single thing that I thought of buying with that money was given to me as a gift, right? So it's just a small thing, but it's like you just never know how your little can be a lot to someone else. So it's a long answer to your question. So basically, giving back as if it's yours to share and not yours to keep.
So
I think
good.
is one way. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Razzel, how about you?
That's big because, I think, the very key now, you can't be there physically, but you can do something and just allow yourself, what you said, being available. It may be wee hours, but, are you open to even receiving a call? Because just, maybe it's something very important that person has to, she needed somebody, he or she, but reaching out to you. For me, it's about being stretched to
Right.
what's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
being stretched to do. I don't want that. I don't want to do that now. But knowing that we are all in different places, we are all in different struggles or maybe going through a lot. But if we make ourselves, just like what we just said, are we available?
So good.
Meaning, can I be uncomfortable because this is not something that I'm used to doing before? Zoom, I don't like Zoom calls. I don't
I don't
like.
think anyone
I
would
would
say.
rather be, I want to be
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
but I can't do that.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like the Lord is now giving me creativity, just I think specific story would be being there for somebody. I am single, but I'm okay when somebody reaches out to me, whether somebody who's married.
Right.
I know I may not be the right person, but what God has done in my life, I guess we can always point them to
Right.
God's word, right?
Right.
But then, it's like you have to spend time with that person and just listen, because many times I don't know what to say, right?
Yeah.
But am I willing to really spend hours just listening? But that thing made an impact, and it's changing one's life. So I think for me, we start with little steps, but that step may be something really big for somebody else when they receive it, and we're willing to give it.
I tell you what, you women of God are doing it big right now for not just in your spheres of influence, but in this church. And I just want to say thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for being intentional. There's a lot of people that are broken and hurting right now, and you guys are responding to the call of God here in our society and in our church. So thank you so much for that. I want to encourage everybody to go back and listen to this sermon series. We've had some powerful speakers come through: Tim Johnson, Dr. Rice Brooks, We had Lynette Lewis, had our own Ron Lewis speaking. Powerful, powerful messages. Also, James Lowe, one of our board members, he was on in the series as well. This is a time right now to remember our past because we know we have a great future. And if we don't learn from our past, we'll never be able to make an impact for our future. So I just want to encourage everybody to go back, look at this sermon, listen to this sermon, meditate on it, apply it to our lives, and let's go do something great for the Lord Jesus Christ in the months, the weeks, and the days to come. Thank you for joining us. Everybody have a blessed, blessed, blessed day.